Aussie Go Free Club Lessons. Chapter 1. No White Guilt. Lesson 1. The Stolen Generation and No White Guilt. My grandma always used to say, 2 wrongs don't make a right, and it is in that spirit in which I would like to address this topic. The topic being what is called the stolen generation, and how this relates to the advocacy of no white guilt. Does no white guilt mean disregarding the suffering or trauma of Aboriginals impacted by the stolen generation? No. It means 2 wrongs don't make a right. No white guilt means being able to recognize and have compassion and concern for the suffering of Aboriginals, while also not holding blame or anger or guilt towards whites as a whole. The focus should be on working to heal the trauma within the Aboriginal community. Yet, instead of actually helping Aboriginals, anti-whites would much rather the focus be on blaming whites. Kevin Rudd's apology was a perfect example of exactly this. An empty platitude, and still nothing has changed for the Aboriginal community. Why? Well, because saying sorry was a way of promoting white guilt. The government knew that nothing would change to actually help the Aboriginal people, and yet they did not care. They have only ever pretended to care about the well-being of Aboriginals as an excuse to promote white guilt. And saying sorry was exactly this. Pretending to care about Aboriginals and making a mockery of the real and tangible trauma many suffer simply to promote an anti-white hatred of Western kind. White guilt is being instilled in people in order to make non-whites angry at whites and whites hate themselves. White guilt has led to many whites committing suicide. Millions more suffer daily due to the real and tangible trauma of white guilt. In just the same way that Aboriginals being removed from their families and tribal homes disregards their well-being, makes them lose connection to their ancestors and their cultural ways, creating drug addiction and alcoholism and more in its place. White guilt in white individuals makes them lose connection to their ancestors and cultural ways, creating drug addiction and alcoholism and more in its place. And 2 wrongs don't make a right. Blaming whites and promoting white guilt in this way doesn't help Aboriginals heal. It actually keeps Aboriginals suffering and simply creates more suffering in whites. The way forward is not to blame nor to be sorry. No one alive today is responsible for the ills of the past, so no one has anything to be sorry for. And the only people continuing the suffering and trauma of Aboriginals today are anti-whites themselves. The very folk who say we should blame whites are the people responsible. So at the end of the day, no white guilt actually means healing the trauma of the Aboriginal community. And white guilt means ignoring the trauma of Aboriginals so it continues. So anti-whites can blame whites for it. The only right thing to do then is to end white guilt. We need to stop the blame games and actually start the process of healing.